They told you Giannis Antetokounmpo stayed in Milwaukee because of loyalty. What if everything you heard was carefully orchestrated PR? While everyone celebrated the faithful superstar, a calculated corporate chess match was unfolding behind closed doors. Get ready to uncover what mainstream sports media refused to investigate. What I'm about to expose contradicts every narrative the talking heads fed you. This isn't a feel-good story about dedication to the game or a franchise standing by its cornerstone. It's a tale of cold business calculation, perfect timing, and an operation so masterfully executed that even the experts got played. Giannis Antetokounmpo, two-time MVP, and the man who ended Milwaukee's half-century championship drought might be at the center of the most ruthlessly strategic maneuver the Bucks have ever pulled off. The wildest part, everyone involved knows exactly what's happening, but nobody can say it out loud. Here's what slipped past most people. Giannis expressed interest in leaving Milwaukee at the end of January. There was no public meltdown, no social media drama, just a private, professional conversation between a concerned star and a front office that was already 10 moves ahead. Consider the context. The player who carried this team for years, who passed on super team opportunities to remain faithful, finally acknowledges the obvious truth. The Bucks aren't contenders anymore. The championship window slammed shut. His prime years are being wasted on a franchise in clear decline. But here's the game changer. When Giannis voiced these concerns, management's reaction wasn't panic. There were no empty promises of immediate upgrades, no institutional freakout. There was something far more telling, an unspoken understanding. Sports media completely dropped the ball investigating this. Sure, a few reporters mentioned potential friction or rumored dissatisfaction, but nobody dug deeper. Nobody asked why an athlete of Giannis' stature would remain publicly calm while privately signaling discontent. The answer is disturbing, because both sides had already mapped out a plan. This request wasn't a desperate ultimatum. It was the opening gambit in a sophisticated negotiation, and the Bucks, far from feeling threatened, saw exactly what they were looking for, the perfect justification to execute a strategy already in motion. The packages didn't meet our expectations. That was the official line, but let's break down what this really means in NBA corporate speak. When an organization publicly announces that offers for their biggest star fell short, they're not simply declining deals. They're manipulating the market, setting parameters, forcing competitors to reveal their hands. Let's look at the concrete facts. Teams like the Miami Heat, the Houston Rockets with their rising young talent, the Golden State Warriors trying to revive their dynasty, all submitted packages. And these weren't garbage offers. We're talking promising young players, multiple draft picks, strategic contracts that would allow future flexibility. So what was the real issue? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Milwaukee never had serious intentions of accepting any proposal in February. They were conducting market research at other franchises' expense. Consider Milwaukee's actual position at the trade deadline. Just on one first-round pick available for trading, any meaningful rebuild would be impossible with so few resources. If you accept a mega trade for Giannis at that moment, you receive players who don't fit your system, picks you can't use until months later, and you lose all ability to make additional moves before season's end. It's like selling your business at the worst possible moment just because someone made an offer. No competent executive would do that. The dissatisfaction with proposals was a carefully crafted narrative masking the real objective: buying time. Time for the market to heat up, time for more teams to get desperate, time to accumulate more tradable assets. And crucially, keeping Giannis on the roster allowed something vital, maintaining the illusion of hope for fans and sponsors. Now we reach the operation's core, where the true brilliance of this strategy reveals itself completely. Giannis staying isn't the story's ending, it's just intermission. The real plan was always to reassess everything in the offseason, and the reasons are mathematically obvious. At that point, the Bucks will have access to 3 first-round picks to use in negotiations. That instantly triples their bargaining power, but the advantage extends far beyond numbers. In the offseason, the entire NBA ecosystem transforms. Teams eliminated from playoffs will be hungry for drastic changes. Franchises that overestimated their chances during the season will be ready for complete overhauls. Young talents will have been evaluated at the draft combine, providing precise data on their actual market value. There's more. The offseason enables complex negotiations involving multiple teams. A 3- or 4-way trade, which would be practically impossible under February's deadline pressure, becomes not just possible but likely. Imagine this completely plausible scenario. Milwaukee negotiates with a contender offering veterans and some picks. But what the Bucks really want is a mountain of draft picks for a total rebuild. Simultaneously, there's a third franchise, say the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have more picks than they know what to do with, willing to acquire those veterans in exchange for their precious future selections. Suddenly, Milwaukee gets exactly what they wanted from the beginning, an avalanche of assets to start from scratch. This type of triangular operation is nearly impossible to coordinate in February with tight deadlines, but in summer, with weeks or even months to align all interests, it becomes the obvious play. And while all this is meticulously planned, what does Giannis do? Simply plays through an already discarded season, maintains impressive statistics to preserve market value, avoids serious injuries in playoffs that won't happen, and probably already knows exactly which jersey he'll wear next season. Everything agreed upon, everything aligned, but nothing can be verbalized publicly. Here's the brutal reality that no carefully rehearsed press conference will admit. This has nothing to do with mutual loyalty. It's not the romantic narrative of a team trusting their star against all odds. It's corporate strategy executed with surgical precision. Milwaukee has transformed Giannis Antetokounmpo, the man who literally bled in their uniform to win a championship, into a financial asset to be liquidated at peak valuation. Observe the perverse elegance of this strategy. By keeping Giannis past the deadline, the Bucks achieve multiple objectives simultaneously. They avoid immediate fan revolt from supporters who still pay tickets to see their hero, even on a losing team. They preserve ticket and merchandise revenue associated with having a superstar on the roster. And most importantly, they establish a market floor by rejecting inadequate offers, signaling to all interested parties that the price will only go up. Meanwhile, Giannis continues producing spectacular highlights, accumulating impressive numbers in games that, in the grand competitive scheme, are completely meaningless. Each dominant performance against mediocre teams is free advertising keeping his commercial value at its peak. It's involuntary marketing for a product Milwaukee plans to sell in a few months. The lost season isn't failure, it's a strategic tool. It allows the Bucks to argue to fans they tried everything while simultaneously benefiting from a terrible record that improves their next draft position. It's losing while winning, or winning while losing, depending on perspective. And Giannis, trapped in the middle of this operation, must maintain impeccable professionalism, must smile in interviews, talk about trusting the process, pretend to believe in the competitiveness of a team that's clearly sinking. Because if he shows frustration openly, his market value drops. If he demands a trade publicly, Milwaukee's negotiating power weakens. It's an unspoken pact, a silent agreement. You perform well for the cameras, we send you where you want in summer, but on our terms and our timing. Forced collaboration disguised as professional partnership. The most disturbing part, all of this works perfectly within NBA rules. There's no contract violation, no unethical behavior by league standards. It's simply sports capitalism in its most efficient and ruthless form. Milwaukee isn't betraying Giannis, they're maximizing return on investment. Giannis isn't being disloyal. He's protecting his career and legacy. Both are acting with perfect economic rationality, but there's something deeply unsettling about the cold mechanics of it all, about how basketball, the sport, the passion, the emotional connection gets reduced to spreadsheets and financial projections. Is Giannis a victim in this complex game, or a conscious participant who perfectly understands the unwritten rules? Drop your thoughts below and let's decode the NBA's backstage together. Do you think this strategy is genius or morally questionable? Should fans feel betrayed or simply accept this is modern basketball business? And the question that really matters, when Giannis' trade is finally announced in the offseason, will you remember this video and recognize everything was planned from the start? Subscribe so you don't miss when this prediction becomes reality, because when it happens, we'll come back here to say we warned you.